Welcome to the Napa Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Jay Lang, the spiritual director of this center. We are an inclusive community for spiritual growth and compassionate action. Come on in for one of our recent services.
Sisters, rise, your heart drum is calling. Brothers, rise, your heart drum is calling.
So if you're a baseball fan, you've probably seen the movie Bull Durham. If you're not, you probably haven't, because it's a rather silly movie in some ways. But Susan Sarandon plays a character named Annie Savoy. And she says, I prefer metaphysics to theology. You see, there's no guilt in baseball, and it's never boring. It's a long season, and you got to trust. I tried all the religions, I really have. And the only church that really feeds the soul day in, day out is the Church of Baseball. So today you've come to the Church of Baseball. And one thing that I want to bring up, so our theme this year is this month is It's Better Together. And today in particular, we're talking about who's on first. And there's an old famous Abbott and Costello little comedy bit about who's on first base. And one of them says, who's on first base? The other one says, yes. Because a player named who is actually the first baseman. And the second baseman name is what? And the third baseman is I don't know. So you can tell how confusing that little dialogue goes. So I thought I would update that with a little bit more today from a spiritual perspective. But as many things, to discover the truth, we need somebody else to do it with. So I'm inviting Diana to come up, and she's going to help me do a little dialogue here. So first of all, you begin by saying,
who's on first in today's baseball game?
I am.
How can you be on first? You're right here.
Well, I am. I am is all there is, and all that is first.
Hold on a minute. We can't all play first.
That I am is within me, and it's always first base, first cause.
Because why?
Because it is.
Always?
Yes.
Okay, you are is on first.
No. I am is first. You are a second.
I am is on second.
No, first. We connect with first. You are a second. You are as part of the I am. We are is third, and so it is home base.
Okay, we have to touch each base, or we will be out of it.
Yep.
Rounding the bases, we start with I am.
Yep.
You are. We are, and so it is.
That's right.
This is beginning to make sense. But who is the pitcher and who is the catcher?
Well, we are all the pitcher and the catcher, the inlet and the outlet. We all express and receive the divine energy of healing.
Just how many people play this game?
Oh, out of the one, many.
Oh, and out of one, many.
And out of the many, one. Exactly. That's right.
All right, let's play ball.
Okay, let's play ball. So what I know is we need each other in order to have this kind of dialogue to figure out what is true sometimes, a mirror of our consciousness, a mirror of that which is one, the many, and out of the many, one in this Church of Baseball. But what's great about this game is as I explore today, we can find out how do we show up to play the game when we might have fear, loss, or regret. How do we seek our spiritual magnificence as we step up to the plate, even though we might strike out? How can we individually seek success and at the same time want the success of others and be part of a team that is better together? And what happens when our wishes and intentions do not happen in this game or the next? And how can we keep from being distracted by the jeers of the crowd or our own inner jeers, our own inner doubts, whether we can throw the ball, hit the ball, catch the ball, and be at our best, to do our best, even if we might strike out. We might misthrow the ball. We might miss the ball if it's thrown to us. I believe above all that there's value of friendships, a value of community in this theme. This month we talk about better together. And I would suggest as we walk into this month and really every day, if you don't have a team of people in your life that you can be vulnerable with, that you can explore spirituality without having all the answers, or your life questions without having all the answers, I would invite you to build that team, one person at a time, to build that deeper connection with other people. Because it's important to have someone when you are in it, or when you have moments of doubt or fear, just to have someone remember who you are when you forget who you are. And that's important. And it, some people, I think last week I mentioned that too often it's put in the context of a significant partner in your life. And really, even if you are married or in relationship, you know that you need more than that one person. There's not one person that can do all things for you. And you don't need that kind of relationship to have this kind of team. And ultimately, the manager of the team is the one who makes the decisions about who's in what, on what base, who's up to bat, who's pitching. The ultimate manager is Spirit itself, that is the manager of us, that gives us guidance, that reminds us who we are and how great we are, that encourages us, even after we strike out, to remind us that error in our thinking and our life is not who we really are, that we are this magnificent spiritual being. So as we step forward in this game of baseball that I wanted to explore today, about who's on first, I think the important thing about that question about who's on first is, what is our priority in life? What is first and foremost as we consider what we do and what we prioritize in our life? And I know this seeking this clarity is not a one-time thing, but it also doesn't have to be a obsession where we're thinking about it all the time either. There's time to relax and time to be. I often love the phrase called mind the gap. And in baseball, mind the gap is the many ways a gap is used, but one particular is when a batter is up to bat and they seek to hit it where nobody is. That makes sense, right? So like this hit here, hitting it into the outfield where there's no outfielders. And so because he hit it in the gap, then he's able to run to second base and stand up double, so to speak, as it's called. For us, this gap is also used in England to talk about the gap between the sidewalk and the subway, the train. And there's a gap, and you have to mind the gap. There's signs up there where mind the gap so you don't trip over that. And there's also a way of thinking about our life that sometimes there's a gap with where our life is and where we would like it to be. And we set intentions in our life and our consciousness and our mind and our experiences of what we want to experience. So we mind the gap. We're mindful of that gap. We're not, the thing about when we step over that gap, if we go gap, got to watch the gap, we're often going to trip over the gap. What we want to know is what we want to experience. We want to experience getting on that train. We want to experience that which we are seeking. That deeper contentment, that deeper peace, that deeper health. So that is what we're focusing on, not the gap, but where we want it. For the baseball player, it's where they want to hit it. They don't say, make sure and don't hit it to the first baseman, make sure don't hit it to the first baseman, and but they're going to hit it to the first baseman then. So it's what we want to create, and that have the confidence or the Godfidence in this case to know that Spirit's with us and supports us, and that which we speak into the universe, that which we know in consciousness, the universe is supporting us to be the spiritual magnificence. At the same time, there's going to be times when we are experiencing this gap. The American poet Robert Lee Frost, I loved what he said, that poets are like baseball pitchers. They both have moments, and the intervals are tough things between those moments. So I'm not saying it's as easy as if you're in a place where you want to seek something greater health, greater peace, greater joy, and you're not there. There is a moment that you feel that, and it's good to feel that and recognize that Spirit is there with you in this way. I also know that there's a gap in the game of baseball between pitches. So the pitcher stands up there and he's on the mound and getting ready, and he's actually required by the rules of baseball to pause. He's supposed to set himself, it's called. If he doesn't, it's a balk, and they get a free base if they do that. So they've got to set. And so the same with the batter, who's like, you'll notice that the batters and the pitchers, before they pitch, before they bat, you know what they do? They breathe. What a good idea. For us to take a moment, not always be on all the time, take a moment to breathe. And so they take a moment, and their body is relaxed, where they're pitching or hitting their body, and then they get up, and then they tense in, they're ready to go. The fielders the same way, they're kind of hanging out there. Okay, he's fixing to pitch, so then they get ready for it. So we could do this. The gap between times, whether it's a stoplight or just a moment in time that you have a gap between what you're doing, make sure your body is relaxed and breathe. It's important to take this breath and just be for a moment and let our body relax. There's a time to be focused, and there's a time to be relaxed. There's I think it's a little ways ahead. Yes, this woman here, her name is Teresa Hersey, and she is the founder of Nap Practice. Not Napa, even though people take naps in Napa, I'm sure. But her whole thing is that we need to learn to relax. And she even goes as far as to say that there's a system that says we are a cog in the wheel, and that our bodies belong to a clock. And she said, that's a lie. She said, you can resist that system that wants to occupy your every moment. I mean, if you think of our internet and our phones and all the things that try and keep our brain busy, we just need to put those on hold for a little bit and be either to take a nap or to take a moment of contemplation or meditation or just sitting in the peace and nature somewhere. She says that I'm divine. I can rest. Rest is my natural state. It is my birthright. To disrupt that and push back is a social justice piece. I thought it was interesting how she claimed it being a social justice because there was a system that's trying to occupy her mind, her body. And I don't know if I need to resist it, but I definitely need to be intentional about it, because the world will eat up my time. I guarantee it. It'll just chew it up if I'm not conscious enough, mindful enough to set that rest time to allow it. I know also there's a gap we talk about in terms of baseball. My favorite part of baseball, it's actually not my favorite sport, but it's my favorite sport to attend. And this is why. There's gaps between plays as well. And guess what happens between gaps? There's conversation. If I'm watching a basketball game or a football game, there's not much conversation happening. I'm like focused, right? But baseball, there's this casualness about it that people are talking and all the stands, people are just chatting and having a conversation. And we need to make sure we have those gaps in our lives as well, to have conversation, to have connection, because it's an important part of that which we're doing in this life, to find that deeper connection, because we can find a deeper peace, a deeper commitment, a deeper life in our connection with other people if we're willing to make sure and create that. I appreciate what Stephen Covey said when he said that the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So it's not trying to fit more into your schedule. It's trying to make sure that you get in what a lot of people call the big rocks. And that metaphor is based on, if you have a jar and you fill it with the little pebbles or the sand first, there's not room for the big rocks in there. But if you put those big rocks first in, the things that are most important in your life, then the little things, the sand and the gravel, can fit around it. So the big rocks for you are different for each person, but often there to make sure you have time for yourself, taking care of yourself, nurturing time. Maybe it's massage, maybe it's rest, maybe it's nap. Time with other people in community or in social engagement of different kinds. Nutritious food, make sure you have enough time to prepare good food for yourself that nurtures your body. Exercise, even if it's just a walk, being outside, being in nature. So what are those big rocks for you? And make sure that you schedule those things first. And above all, that includes, you don't have to fill in the whole jar, right? There can be some gaps in there. There's some space. That is the way baseball is played with the gaps, and the way we can seek to have those gaps in that way. The value of the deeper connection with spirit and with other people. And the other thing about this connection we have, this in the gapness, is to concentrate on the basics. And what I mean by that is, whenever I have doubts in my life or overwhelmed, or I'm a period of time, maybe I'm not feeling good about myself, I go back to my spiritual basics. And that's that there is only God. That's all there is. And that there is only oneness. The Spirit is not out there. It's right here and all around me. And there are other basics that I use. There's a player named Yogi Berra. He was a player, a manager, but he also had famous quotes because he was kind of a philosopher, kind of the Will Rogers of baseball. And one time as a manager, his team was playing terrible. They were losing. They're like the Giants lately, but that's another matter. They did win yesterday, so that was good. But anyway, Yogi Berra came into his team, and he was really mad at him. He goes, "You guys played lousy today. You were terrible. We're going back to the basics." And he held up a bat, and he goes, "This is a bat." Held up a ball. "This is a ball." And one of the players goes, "Hold on, Yogi, you're going too fast." Sometimes we need to slow it way down to make sure that we are solid in our beliefs about oneness. And you know, if I told you that God is all there is and all things are one, you might go, "Hold on, Reverend Jay, you're going too fast." Because we need to experience it. It's not just, can't just be words in our head. We need to settle into it, into our bodies, and feel that peace and that joy that we can experience it. And then connect it to other life that's out there, all life. And we know Spirit is present and personal and expresses through us as we allow it to, and that all life is whole. That Spirit through us is seeking us to be free, and anything that binds us we can let go of so we can be free. We know that as above, so below, that we create. Spirit comes into us. We can create this universe through our thinking, through our consciousness, and allow something greater to come through us. We know this, and yet if we don't take the time to remember it, it can be forgotten in the busyness of the day. And another important thing about this whole thing about baseball being a priority is that we need to allow ourselves to receive. To receive. When you are catching a baseball, and I brought an old mitt I had here. It's interesting because if you're a rigid, first of all, let me say, when I was a kid and learned how to catch a baseball, and someone throw a baseball, I would try and catch it like this because I didn't want it to hit me, right? But the truth is, you have to be present. And if you hold out your hand too rigidly, the ball will just fall. And if it's too loose, it will fall. You have to be able to receive it. There's a receiving it. You receive it and allow the mitt to go around us. And so it is life. You receive that. You're not too rigid and you're not too unintentional, like everything's okay. It'll work out. It's okay. You are intentional. You're clear. And you receive the grace of God that is in and around us. And in that way, we also are aware that we sometimes make mistakes. Sometimes there's errors in the game. Sometimes we strike out as hard as we try, and let that be okay. We receive the grace of God even when we're making mistakes. Do you know that the best hitters in baseball don't get on base safely 7 out of 10 times? The best players only get on base 3 out of 10 times. It's called a 300 batting average. It's if you have above 300, you're in line to be one of the best players of the whole year. And yet, when we make one mistake out of 100, we're going, "Oh no, I'm an unworthy person." Ricky Henderson, who's a former Oakland A's player, was known for stealing bases. He said, "If my uniform doesn't get dirty, I haven't done anything in the baseball game." So in life, we need to get dirty. We need to be willing to take risks. Babe Ruth, a famous home run hitter, said, "Never allow the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Every strike always brought me closer to the next home run." So there are errors that we can do, and we know that it's a way of moving forward, learning from it, and creating. And people have made big mistakes in the game of baseball. We've made big mistakes, but we can't lean on that as being the truth of who we are. There was the Boston Red Sox for a long time. There was supposed to be the curse of the Bambino because they traded away Babe Ruth and never won another World Series after that. And people thought they were cursed. And they did one win in 2004, but a lot of it had to have several generations because they had a belief they couldn't win it. And the same is true for us, that we often think that we are cursed or not worthy because of something we did or a series of things. And we need to let that go, because that is not the freedom the Spirit seeks us to be. That we step up to the bat, we watch the pitch come in, we breathe, and we seek to hit the ball. I remember growing up playing baseball, fastballs were fine at first, but then they got faster and they became more difficult to hit. And curveball hit. Curveballs, you know what a curveball is? So you're sitting up here to bat, and you're watching the ball come in, and you swing as if the ball's here, but suddenly the ball goes whoop, a different direction. And life is like that sometimes, right? You think it's going to come in a certain way, and it changes. And you blame yourself for not seeing it coming. Well, or not thinking that, not being able to adapt to it. Things are going to change and shift in our lives, and we do the best we can, and we learn how to hit that. As an adult, I went to a friend who was a good baseball player, played in college. we went to a batting cage where the pitches were 60 miles an hour, which I'd never hit. And he taught me how to hit a 60-mile-an-hour fastball. You time it. You anticipate it. And no one had ever taught me that. And I was able to hit it. That we can experience something in our lives and prepare for it and be ready for it and understand it and open up to it. And above all, the game of baseball is about coming home. It's all about coming home. Here's a player Darren Ruff was on second base, and Brandon Crawford from the Giants hits the ball, and here comes Darren Ruff home, slides in safely. They win the game in a dramatic game. All the team comes out, and they're celebrating. Of course, the other team is a little dejected, but still, we're all playing on the same team, and we can all win in this game. And it's about coming home. And yes, I'm talking about the game of baseball, but I'm talking about this home that is our spiritual home within us, with our own being, that we come home to, that we find this centering, this deeper connection by simply being. Ram Dass says, we are all walking each other home. One of my favorite phrases, we're all walking each other home. So we're all serving and supporting and being and reminding each other that this is the home of our heart. And this community can be, hopefully you have found this to be a spiritual home where you find your center of your being. The deeper truth of who you are. Because that's what life is about, coming back home. You know, every day when we're out doing stuff, we come back home, our sanctuary, but also every morning, whenever we take a moment, we come to our spiritual home, our spiritual center, and just find that deeper connection. That we can be present in this life. I think too often we think life is hard and life is work. In the game of baseball, they never start the game by saying, work ball, it's play ball, right? So let's play ball in life and allow it to receive this, find this deeper connection in just a moment we might have. And we know from this place, that from our spiritual home, then we can help others find their way home as well. We do that as a community. We do it individually and out the many things you're doing out in the world, whether you're at the grocery store or at a workplace, in your family, that we're all walking each other home. And I'm so grateful for that. Let us go to prayer. I know the spiritual home within me that is right here. The deeper connection of all life, that is love, that is truth, that is joy. And I know this is true for each of you as well. The spiritual home is available to you as we all find our way home through the help of others, and we help each other find their way home as well. We know this to be the truth, and we are grateful for it. And so it is. Thank you for watching today. If you would like more information, scan the QR code or go to nvcsl.org or come in person. We'd love to see you. Sundays, 10:30, live music, great messages in this great community we have here.